Hello, welcome back to the Everything is Black and White podcast. I'm Andrew Musgrove, joined by John Gibson for the first of two match previews this week. I'm not sure anyone will care about the second one, previewing the game on Sunday, but we'll get to that later in the week. This one's all about the Champions League and Bayer Leverkusen as Newcastle head out to Germany, hoping to get another win on the road and secure their spot in the next phase of Europe's Elite Cup competition. John, plenty to talk about, but first things first, how are you keeping? You well?
Well, I'm okay. Nobody's rained on my parade yet, but how I'm going to end the week is another matter. Two huge games.
Certainly so. And we go into this game on the back of victory over Burnley. We're not going to spend too long on that game against Burnley because, let's be honest, there wasn't much to write home about. But is the victory enough to have a bounce in your step, or does the performance, particularly the second half and really the inability to make the dominance pay, just sour the preparation slightly?
I think it does. I mean, there's more relief than anything else I would feel in camp. It's not going to give you a bounce because at half time, when we were 2-0 up and it was 11 men against 10, I'd forecast a 3-0 win, and I thought I'm going to be wrong here. But I thought I was going to be wrong because it was going to be 4-0. I didn't think I was going to be wrong because it was going to be 2-1. I think there's relief to get over the line. We were the deserved winners, but you can look at it another way and say, was it deserved? If you remember, Andrew, right at the death, the last kick, there was two guys at the back post. Both should have scored. Neither got a touch, and we got away with it. Deserved the win, but it looked like a crazy finish again. How many points have we given up at the death? And we give up a goal, and then we went crackers. We just went like jelly on a plate. So it was relief, I think, more than anything to win, as we should have won. But now we've got the real tests: Bayer Leverkusen and Sunderland. This will test our mettle, both away from home. And it is a big test on Wednesday night because we're running out of games in the Champions League. We're so close to qualifying, but yet we haven't qualified at all as yet. And after this game, we've only got two games left, and one of them is away to Paris Saint-Germain, who are not only the European champions, but they beat Bayer 7-2 at their place in Germany in the last time the Germans were at home in this competition. So, if you're going to say we don't want to pin any hope on needing points at Paris Saint-Germain, then we've got to get something out of Bayer Leverkusen and the home game to come.
Yeah, and that's why when you look back at the defeat in Marseille, having taken the lead and haven't had chances to add to it, and then of course the way the game went due to errors, it is frustrating because ideally Eddie Howe would have wanted to come into this game with not much rest on it. Yes, you still want to pick up a victory, but knowing that you've won in Marseille, the win against Bayer Leverkusen isn't as important, but it is now because they didn't win in Marseille. They're down to 11th in the league table. Bayer Leverkusen are 17th, but they're only 1 point behind Newcastle. So it's so congested in the Champions League table.
It was a huge missed opportunity, Andrew, in Marseille, especially when we were 1-0 up and absolutely, totally comfortable and blew it in a mad 4 minutes or whatever it was at the beginning of the second half. That was a huge miss because, you couldn't work out in theory that if we'd won that and you were going to spread the load this week in view of the derby, you might have been able to switch the team around a little bit for this game. But now, the question Eddie's got to ask himself is which game is the most important, Bayer Leverkusen or Sunderland? And of course, the answer is both. But team selection-wise, what's he do? Because there's pressure on this. Our qualification for the rest of the Champions League could peter out dramatically if we lose here and we lose to Paris Saint-Germain, then everything's on that one home game, PSV. So the pressure is back on us. But hey, that's why you sign up, isn't it? That's why you join and want to go into the Champions League. You expect pressure. But yes, we've made it harder for ourselves. And why it's harder in both these games this week is that we've only had 2 away wins in all competitions this season. Mind you, both were by when we scored 4 goals each time, away to Union and away to Everton. But I think it'd be asking a lot to expect to score 4 goals this time. But it shows we've only won 2 out of 9 away from home in all competitions this season. So, we're not good travellers, but we've got to become good travellers this week, because it's unthinkable to talk about us losing both these games this week. That's unthinkable for Geordies.
Yeah, certainly so. And you're going to come into the office later this week to preview the Sunderland game. So we'll not spend too much time on it now. But how important is it that Newcastle United get a win on Wednesday, not only because of what it would mean in the Champions League and the league table, but for that momentum to continue into Sunday?
Sure. I mean, if we get our bait put up on Wednesday night, then it doesn't put us in a good shape or in a good mood to go into a derby match where Sunderland have had a free week. So we've got to look to we need it on both accounts. We need it because the Champions League could slip away from us, Andrew. We must bear this in mind. We got 3 wins on the trot. We've felt for a little while, we've almost qualified. The key word is almost. We could wake up and miss out here if we don't get something said Bayer. And what we're looking for there, which is interesting, is a hat trick of Champions League wins over them, because back in 2003 we beat them 3-1 home and away in what was a 2-legged in those days. We played them both home and away. It was Bobby Robson's side, but that side was good enough to finish 3rd top of the Premier League when we beat them 3-1 home, 3-1 away, and both times we killed them early doors. Shola got 2 out there very early on, and we won 3-1. And I think it was a hat trick for Shearer here. I hope Nick Voldemort is listening to this and realizes, okay, this is my responsibility. Out I go and put them to the book early on. And what a return to Germany that would be from Malik Chow, of course, if he wants to get ahead at the back post at any stage. Our 2 German internationals. But yes, it is important. And we've got to go out and look for it. No question about that. Because as I've repeated, and I'll repeat here, two defeats, which are a possibility. I don't think they'll happen, but they're a possibility. Anything's a possibility. 2 defeats is unthinkable to what it would do to our season.
Yeah, certainly so. It won't be easy, though, on Wednesday. Last time out, Leverkusen beat Manchester City 2-0. And yes, it was a weakened Manchester City by their standards, but still start 11, which you would say would easily qualify in the top 6 of the Premier League. So, that was a great victory for Leverkusen. They've also beaten Benfica. They've drawn to PSV. They've drawn to Copenhagen. As you mentioned, they got hammered off PSG. But it will be a big, big test. They're 4th in the Bundesliga. And they did lose 2-0 to Augsburg last time out. And they have also got their derby this weekend against FC Köln. So maybe their team selection might be slightly skewed by the big derby coming up for them, although they're in a similar position to Newcastle, where 1 win, suddenly the next phase of the Champions League looks very much on the cards. Let's talk about Newcastle United's potential team, because I feel like we could ask our viewers and listeners to write down their team, and I don't think anyone would probably get it right, because we've got no idea what Eddie Howe is going to do most of the time, but certainly no idea what he's going to do with the team, with Sunderland also on the horizon. I think there will be a couple of changes. I want to start, John, with Big Nick up front. Now, you just said there, I hope he's watching, which suggests that you think he will probably start up front.
Yeah, for several reasons. B, because the options aren't great, because Wissa's certainly not ready to start. That would be a monumental gamble, because you'd be lucky if you got him to half time. on physical fitness I'm talking about, and not his injury, on being capable. I mean, it was so wonderful to see him and so lovely. It was 20 minutes, but naturally, because rust was still hanging on his frame, he didn't do a lot in that time. I don't think you can contemplate starting Wissa in this game. And if you don't, are you going to go back to starting Gordon as a false nine? That's your only alternative. But equally, would you decide to leave Voldemort out in Germany? When he's going back there and we need a result, and presumably he'd want to do the business in Germany as Malik Chow would. So I don't see much alternative to playing him. But with Eddie, you never know, do you? He could play a false nine. Certainly, I don't think Wissa is anywhere near. I think at this stage, whether he started or come on, you'd be lucky to get 45 minutes out of Wissa. Never mind 90.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Gordon start up top. I mean, viewers and listeners and yourself, John, know that I hate the thought of that. I really, really do. But Eddie's done it before, especially in Europe. And Voldemort, looked a bit tired in the last game, even though it wasn't too much of a workout. Wissa, I agree with you, isn't fit to start this game at all. So I could see Voldemort starting on the bench and then being prepped and ready to go on Sunday. I did ask our viewers and listeners to get in touch and pose that question to them, and whether Gordon would be the man up top. We've got Joe Linton on X, not the Newcastle United midfielder, but what looks like an Iceland Newcastle United fan. So hello to you. He says, can't see it. Doesn't mean it wouldn't happen though. Voldemort and Wissa can start sharing the load now, and Wissa needs minutes if he's fit and available, which is true, but that's the dilemma, isn't it, John? Because Wissa, although he needs competitive minutes to get to his best, is he ready to start the game on Wednesday? I don't think
nowhere near, and he's not ready to start the game at Sunderland either, before we'll get to that question later in the week. He might need minutes, but we need points more than he needs minutes, and we can't give up the points at Bayer and give up the points at Sunderland just to get some petrol in his tank. That's a physical impossibility. By the way, I like Gordon at centre forward as much as I like Byrne at left back. I think you play, and it's not the fault of either player. I think Byrne's a decent centre half, and Gordon's in England outside left. But we lose. Yes, he can run beyond, and yes, he doesn't do much of that. I thought he was superb against Burnley, playing in his proper position. I thought he got a lot of his vava-voom back. I mean, he hit the woodwork twice. He took a very good penalty. He produced a killer ball that led to the bloke getting sent off for bringing down Elanga. I thought he played ever so well. I don't like him playing 9. And I'm not certain that... for going to Germany, would you leave Voldemort out? I mean, I could see Mom playing this fella at 9 at Sunderland. Although I wouldn't advocate that either, by the way. I wouldn't advocate him playing at 9 at all. I would go with Voldemort and then see what next week brings with the League Cup. And yes, there's a load on Voldemort, but, that's why he's a big lad. You've got to get on with it. But that's going to be interesting. So is the rest of the selection. I presume if you're thinking that Gordon could be tried at 9, that would bring Harvey Barnes in at outside left. And Barnes and Gordon are our 2 top scorers in the Champions League with 4 goals each, which is very interesting. But I mean, I would start Voldemort. This might be a bit controversial, like your Gordon at number 9, but I would start Voldemort, Gordon outside left, and I would put Barnes outside right. He's right-footed, because I would want Barnes and Gordon's goals in that Champions League side, and they both score in the Champions League very well. I think Gordon's a shoo-in to start, whatever position he starts, because he played so well against Burnley, and he's a big-time player in the eyes of Eddie. But I think Barnes has got a great chance of starting as well. But, I would start him on the right wing. I think he's done him that once this season, and and during the game, he's had him play on the right side. because he's right-footed, of course. Now it's traditional the wingers play on the wrong side, don't they? They used to play on the side where they're left-footed or right-footed. But I would play Bonds as well. I would have Bonds and Gordon in my side, yeah.
Let us know in the comments your thoughts on John's pick for the wings. It's interesting you mentioned that because some of the replies to the question that I posed have actually talked about the wings. We've got Ryan saying, no way does Gordon start up top. He'll be on the left and Bonds on the right with Big Nick up top for 65 minutes. Leverkusen usually play 3 at the back so we can get at them. We got Diamond saying, not a chance, Gordon up top. Now we have 2 strikers. Voldemort and Wissa will dovetail minutes with Voldemort starting the games till Wissa is up to scratch. Gordon, I feel, may get a rest for Sunday's game as well. We've got David saying, I hope he doesn't start up top. And we got Blousy saying, I'd sooner have Barnes through the middle because Gordon can't finish his dinner. So there we go. Thank you for getting in touch. Do get in the comments and share your opinion. The rest of the team then, John, will go right back to the defence. I mean, Aaron Ramsdale's going to start because Nick Pope's not fit. Then into the defence, I think Tino Livramento will start at right back. Lewis Hall will start at left back, having started on the bench against Burnley. Then into the centre, I think Malik Thiaw will start at centre back. And then it's really a flip of a coin between Cher and Burn. I will say Cher starts because I think Eddie Howe will do everything possible to make sure Dan Burn is fit and ready for Sunday. So I think Cher starts in the middle alongside Malik Thiaw.
Yeah, I think that's more than a possibility. Yes, the rest of the defence picks itself. You've got to go Livramento and Hall. Hall gives you so much more as a left back, and I know that he's trying to nurse him to it. Chow's a shoe-in. It's in Germany, and he's our best player this season, beyond a shadow of doubt. I mean, he's a joy to watch. He really is. And it is just a flip of a coin then going Burn or Shaw. The one thing that's important is if Burn's left out, it'll be because of Sunday, because he's adored by Eddie, and Eddie ain't going to leave him out of both sides, Wednesday and the derby. That's the biggest certainty of the lot. In the middle 3, it's anybody's guess, but I think he'll just go back to the big hitters and go Bruno, Tonali, and Joe Linton.
It's a debate, isn't it? And it's going to be interesting to see if there's any updates and how his press comments on Tuesday evening, because Tonali's been struggling for a bit of fitness now. Of course, he came off the bench against Burnley, but it was for a matter of minutes. And I think if he's not 100%, I don't think he'll start him. I think Bruno will start. I mean, look, Newcastle without Bruno, it's scary what they've become without him in the side. He's been absolutely brilliant so far this season. So as long as he's got a little bit of petrol in the engine, then he's going to continue to go a little bit of petrol in the tank. You don't want your petrol in your engine, do you? But you know what I mean. He'll be starting. And then I think Willock's impressed. I really do think Willock has gone up in the estimation of a lot of people. So I could see him starting on Wednesday. And then I've got Miley written down here because
if Tonali doesn't play, I think Willock would play. Sorry, if Tonali, I do apologise. That's not what I think. I think that Miley would play in that sitting role in the centre, which I think he does very well. He's more suited as the deputy of Tonali to me than playing in other positions. And I think he's the best of the 3 available just beneath the surface, like Willock and Ramsey and Miley. I think Miley's the best of the 3. I'm not hugely impressed by Willock. I don't recognise him from the guy that first joined us on loan from Arsenal. And he off-looked this chuffed. I don't know if you noticed, Andrew, but he off-looked this chuffed when he come up when he was subbed on against Burnley. He was angry. He was really angry. And I thought Ramsey was disappointing. I've still got to see. I know he's got wonderful talent, but I've still got to see it. And I think at times early on, Burnley played through our midfield when you had Willock and Ramsey going in alongside Bruno. Bruno's phenomenal. Bruno's 2 main at the moment. He is absolutely phenomenal. Tonali, if 100%, and is a shoe-in because he's so good. But yes, you're absolutely right. He hasn't been 100% recently. But then if he's out, I will play Miley with Joe Linton. If he's not fit enough for 90 and the manager's worried about him and he's thinking about the derby, then I would go Miley with Joe Linton and Bruno.
Let us know in the comments your pick for midfield. I'm just looking here at the stats for Bayer Leverkusen's games at home in the Champions League. So the draw against PSV had more possession. And when Newcastle have more possession, that's where I feel Joe Linton really isn't needed. I feel like you do need someone like a Willock or Ramsey who are able to kind of carry the ball.
Might be needed away from home though, mate, else they'll play through us. Away from home, we on solid. I mean, look at our results. Without looking at their results, look at our results. And I thought they played at times, and the game went away from Burnley, and once they were down to 10 men, they did it. But at times early on, they played through our midfield when we didn't have the ball. And we've got to be careful that doesn't happen to us in a game like Leverkusen. And I mean, they will be going all out because they haven't won at home in the Champions League. They've had a draw and then got hammered by Paris Saint-Germain. And they've lost their last 2 games in the Bundesliga. So, they're looking for redemption in the same way as we are with our away record. Not our overall record, but our away record. Our away record, we are looking to put that right. They're looking to put right the fact they've lost the last 2 Bundesliga games and they haven't won at home in the Champions League. So they'll be firing, and it'll be interesting. And the only reason I include Joe's because I'm thinking that they could play through us again.
Well, before I get your score prediction, John, I'm just going to remind people that this episode is sponsored by NordVPN. The link is in the podcast description box. It's perfect if you're heading abroad to follow Newcastle in the Champions League. Sign up, keep yourself protected. There's a discounted offer by clicking the link in the podcast description box. And we've also got a new sponsor on board, fpro.com. And this is a training mat, which you need an app, and it's loads of drills. It's built by UEFA coaches, and it really can enhance your kids' footballing career. And we've got a very, very special discounted offer to offer you guys. Already 40% off online. If you use the code EIBW20, you can get an additional 20% off. So that's up to 60% right in time for Christmas. It is a brilliant app. It's lots of fun, but also comes with that kind of added extra element of enhancing and honing football skills. You can plug it in your living room, and then you can sit down and have a nice cup of coffee and listen to us while your kid becomes the best footballer possible. So hit the link in the podcast description box to get a discount offer. Big thanks to fpro.com. You can go to fpro.com/EIBW20, and that's where you will find the discount. John, come on then. How is the game going to go?
I honestly believe that you can make a case for all 3 results. You can make a case for a home win on Newcastle United's record away, where we implode more often than we don't. You can make a case for a Newcastle victory on the fact that they've just come off a double Bundesliga defeat. They've never won at home in the Champions League. They are in a transitional season, having done the double in 23-24. They went with Ten Hag this season. That was a disaster. They got rid of him straight away. The new coach has won 11 out of 18, but he's lost 4. And he's lost the last 2 in the league. So you can make a case out for Newcastle. But I mean, I think so I will not be surprised whichever way the result goes, but I believe it'll be a draw.
Yeah, I could see a draw, 1-1, something like that. It'd be tight. I don't think it's going to be the greatest game. And let's be honest, Newcastle aren't really putting in performances which lend themselves to being a great game.
No, we're not.
A point on the road in the Champions League, it keeps that kind of dream alive. Obviously, ideally, you want that win to really give you the best chance of getting through to the next phase. And as we mentioned, to get back on that plane in really good spirits. And I guess in many ways, John, we talked there about momentum and coming home after this game, looking ahead to Sunday. If it's 1-1 and a good performance, is that better than say a 1-0 win in a average performance? I know that sounds a daft question, but I'm just thinking how important is the performance in this game against Leverkusen, whether it's a draw, a win, how important is it ahead of Sunday?
Secondary. As far as I'm concerned, the performance in Germany and at the Stadium of Light doesn't matter one jot. Only the result matters. If we win both or we draw in Germany and beat Sunderland, I don't care how we've played. The result, if we play great in Germany and lose 2-1, and we'll play fabulous down at the Stadium of Light and lose 2-1 or draw 1-1 with a goal in the 89th minute, it's been a poor week. These two matches are about results, first and foremost. Of course, you want the performance to go with results. Of course you do. You always go for utopia. But I don't think, if we come away unbeaten tomorrow night, then as far as I'm concerned, that is a good build-up to the derby, because we'll have beaten Burnley and we'll have got something out of the Champions League and we're going to Sunderland. We didn't play well against Burnley, 2-1. They could equalise. It doesn't matter. We won. That's now put down and we won. The result in the Champions League and at Sunderland is all important, more than the performance.
Well, there we go, ladies and gents. Let us know your predictions in the comments. You can get in touch via the EIBW@reachplc.com. Get in touch on social media as well. Myself and John will be back on Thursday, looking ahead to the Wear Tyne derby. Can't wait for that one. But first and foremost, let's get the job done in Germany. And fingers crossed, 3 points in the Champions League.